Let's use this. This is a Madras curry powder.
It's my favorite.
Indian.
Do you want some measuring implements, or you just
No, we don't like to measure. So I'm going to imagine this is probably about a tablespoon and a half of curry powder. I don't really want this to be super curry-y, but I want it to have kind of just a background richness that comes from curry powder. Okay, now we need some herbs. What would you?
Oregano is a natural with lamb.
Okay. Some oregano. About, I think we'd probably call that two teaspoons.
Cayenne.
And a little bit of cayenne, just to give it, and we've got a little, Laura puts this in here just to remind me only to use a little. So we're going to put just like a half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon.
Quarter.
Just to give it a little zip. I don't expect this is going to taste hot. We just want it to taste rich and round. Okay, and now we probably want some liquids. Olive oil. And we don't want it to be really liquidy. That's probably about a quarter cup of olive oil. Let's leave that here in case we need more.
Okay.
And how about some rice vinegar? I know that's not Middle Eastern, but it has a sweetness that I think is going to mix in nicely here. So we're going to put a little bit of that in. Okay. It's probably a quarter cup of olive oil and just a little bit less than that of vinegar. And then we're going to toss this around, see how it feels. It looks like that'll be enough liquid to coat all that, doesn't it, Laura?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's... What do you think? Do you think you should taste this?
You can. There's no meat in it yet.
I don't really want to taste it. It doesn't. I think it's going to just be good.
Okay. It smells good. I smell curry.
Now we're going to put these in, and we're going to. Well, that one ended up kind of small, didn't it?
That's that funny one that had the.
That's the funny one.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to toss
How
them.
about this?
Oh yeah, put that one in too. Toss them all up. Laura likes to use gloves when she does this. I like my hands to smell like garlic all day. Okay, so we're about there. Now we need this to sit for about 2 hours. And we're going to rely on the magic of television to let that be done while we go off camera. Okay? We'll be back. So let's get working on our salsa. We're going to start with grapes, both green and red grapes. We're going to cut them in half, and then what we're going to do is we're going to dry them in the oven. A little tiny bit of oil, a little tiny bit of sugar?
No, just straight off. Just the oil is nice.
Just a little oil.
It keeps them from just getting hard. It helps them dry out without being crisp.
Without being crisp.
Yes.
And without really roasting.
Yes.
We're going to do a real low heat in the oven.
250. 250.
And what that's going to do is it's going to have the effect of concentrating the flavor of a grape. We're also going to add in, of course, what's lamb without mint? I mean, I know I grew up with, my mom would make lamb chops and we'd have the mint jelly every time. And it was bright green. It was not this green color, for sure. But, so your mom made lamb sauce?
Yeah, it was just chopped mint, sugar, and white vinegar. And I'll have you know that mint all came from my garden.
And we're going to take this and we're just going to kind of big chiffonade. Chiffonade is, of course, one of those cooking terms that sounds scary. And it is a little scary because it really means cut the tips of your fingers off in English. What I'm doing when I chiffonade is I'm just balling up some leaves. And I am taking particular care to put my fingers like this, and I'm just cutting down the edge of my finger. And while I'm showing this, I'm sure I'll actually cut myself. That would be really good. So that's a big chiffonade. A real chiffonade would be very tiny, and so it would just be like little tiny flakes of stuff. So I'm going to use about that much mint. I might rough chop it once the other way too. And then I've got here some parsley. I'm going to do roughly the same thing to the parsley as I did to the mint. If I cut myself, can we cut it out of the show?
No.
We get to show first aid. Is this thing on?
Of mint and parsley. The parsley adds that freshness, right? And the mint adds that kind of sweetness. Okay, so you can see now the grapes. We're gonna put those in a 250-degree oven for
About 2 hours.
About 2 hours. And it could go even lower and longer. You could make them into like almost like a chewy snack if you wanted to. We're not gonna take them quite down that far. Let's pull our grapes out, they're done. Okay, here we go. There's our grapes. You can see here. Where's one that was original? Original, dried.
They look plumper almost.
They look a lot more flavorful to me though, don't they?
Yeah.
See how they just look so much
They're
more
thinner.
concentrated, thinner.
Yum.
Wow, that's an enormous difference. What do we end up with here is, you know, a scant cup, cooked. Doesn't that look pretty?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice and put those.
Okay. And then I guess we're just going to use. Well, let's start with. It's kind of like to start with 2/3 and see if you really want that much.
Okay.
A spoon
Capers.
and some capers.
Just a mixing spoon.
Mixing spoon. Okay, some capers. Oh, this looks great.
Quick rinse.
Quick rinse of capers.
And this is about 2
And
tablespoons.
capers are interesting. You don't have to rinse them, but you got to be really cognizant of the salt level. If you rinse them, you can take the salt level way down. The vinegar has a lot of salt in them. And we like capers. We really like capers here. And so rinsing them allows you to use more capers without making everything too salty. I think we want more capers than that.
I'm working on it.
Oh. See, she knew that I wanted more capers. Okay, and now what are we going to put in here for liquids? More rice wine vinegar?
Maybe a little tiny bit of oil.
A little vinegar and a little oil. We're not trying to make anything very liquidy. This is going to be a salsa, so it's going to be kind of chunky flavors. But I think that a little vinegar and oil help just marry it all together.
Want a couple tablespoons
Yeah.
more?
So that's about 3 tablespoons. What would we call this recipe? We'd say that there's 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 tablespoons of vinegar. There's a
Half cup of mint.
half a cup of mint, half a cup of parsley. There's a pound of grapes, which results in largely a cup. Okay, you want to give it a taste?
Okay,
Miss
I know. I
Taster?
can tell you already. It's going to need a little bit of salt.
Little salt, of course it needs salt. Okay, I'll just give it the salt first.
Just a little. Just that's okay. Okay.
Looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to get a representative bite here. Woo!
Too tart?
A little tart, but good. Once I think if it sits for a few minutes, things will balance out. Because right now you're getting that.
I don't think it's
Even-
too tart. I think that's fabulous.
Well, it's going to be really good with
And the mint really kicks
Yeah.
in. Mmm. I think that is really good. Okay, so we're gonna set that aside. Next we're gonna put this all on a bed of chickpeas. Of course, chickpeas are garbanzo beans. They're very Mediterranean. And we're gonna make this somewhat neutral. We think that the lamb with the big marinade and the salsa with all the stuff we put in there, it's gonna be some big flavors. So our chickpea puree is going to be fairly neutral, so it gives your palate a little break. Okay, so you could buy chickpeas in a can. The problem with that is that they have preservatives in there to hold color as well.
Some of them don't. There are some brands that don't, but
what we did is we bought dried chickpeas, reconstituted them ourselves, and we're basically just going to puree them.
Yes, I just cooked them, I soaked them, and then I cooked them in water and I added some salt so they taste good.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to go get our lamb.
Okay, I'm going to save the liquid from these beans because that's part of our puree.
Okay.
Just let them drain for a minute and cool down just a hair.